Out of all the characters in Undertale Yellow, Ceroba Ketsukane is by far the most interesting. Warning, this video will contain major spoilers to the plot of Undertale Yellow and all of its roots, so if you haven't played it yet, do so now. On to the analysis. Ceroba is teased during the Oasis Valley segment where the player can visit the gate of the Ketsukane estate, which Marla will mention that she knows who lives there and feels sorry for her. No further elaboration will be given by Martlet and the player is forced to move on. Ceroba is first encountered in the Wild East as a friend of the sheriff, Northstar. She feels sympathy for the player after being inducted into the Feisty Five. During the player's many quests with the sheriff and his posse, Ceroba will explain her history with Northstar, or Starlo, which is his actual name. They were childhood best friends, but Ceroba dislikes that Starlo is not being his true self. After the Feisty Four leave Starlo to better himself, Ceroba will say that Starlo has changed and leave too. She does return after the showdown with Starlo and elects to guide the player through the Steamworks. Initially, Ceroba takes the helm of leader and tells Clover to just let her figure out everything. While the player solves puzzles, Ceroba will thank Clover and admit that Clover should lead the way. After some crafty shenanigans with Axis, she comes up with the idea of building a partner robot to distract Axis. She lets Clover solve all the upcoming puzzles and supports them in battle with a one-hit shield. Ceroba is characterized as being kind to some robots like Axis, while not as kind to some others, like the factory's green screen, even destroying the screen where they were about to peer on in one of the floors. During the fight with Axis, she is locked out of the room until late into the fight, but she encourages Clover to find a peaceful solution. Once she gets in, she's able to present Axis the partner robot and makes them fall in love. After this, Starlo and Ed come to confront Ceroba, and she escapes through the elevator, with Starlo in hot pursuit. Then, Clover and Martlet explore the Ketsukane estate and discover Chujin's secret lab. After watching 3 tapes, the player finds out that Chujin was researching the human soul and trying to synthesize it with the Boss Monster soul. It is revealed that Chujin had passed away, and that their child with Ceroba, Kanako, had also followed it down. After this, the player has free range to the underground and eventually re-encounters Martlet outside the apartment building and goes to New Home to confront Ceroba. When communications break down, Starlo tries to block Ceroba as Martlet grabs Clover and flies away, but both are struck down by Ceroba's magic. Ceroba will reveal that she respects Clover, but she needs their soul to complete Chujin's research and avenge her daughter. After this, the battle starts, and after 4 phases, interspersed with cutscenes from Ceroba's memories of Chujin and Kanako's fates, Clover is able to destroy the Kitsune mask Ceroba wears and defeat her. After much deliberation between Martlet, Starlo, and Ceroba after the battle, Clover ultimately volunteers their soul for Ceroba to take to Asgore. The last thing we see her do is attend Clover's funeral and waterfall. Ceroba is a very tragic monster, having parallels to many characters, the most intriguing of which is that of Asgore. Both are deeply connected to human souls and have lost their spouses and children. The main way these 2 characters differ is in how they handle their grief. Asgore becomes a recluse, very rarely seeing other monsters. He becomes a slave to his grief and later his duty to reap the souls of humans who fall into the underground. He is quite cordial and kind to the humans, but does ultimately have to complete his mission. Asgore lost his son to a botched plan to free the monsters from the first fallen child, Kerep. After Asriel's funeral, he declares war on humanity, which upsets his wife, Toriel, and causes her to leave New Home for their original home in the ruins. Asgore was not responsible for the death of his child, but he ultimately claims the lives of 6 others in his quest to save his kin. Ceroba's story follows many of the tragic overtones that Asgore's does. She loses her husband after he dies to his work. In her grief, she continues his work until her daughter, Kanako, finds the experiments and steps up to the plate to use the serum that Chujin made. This causes Kanako to fall down, and Ceroba sends her to Alphys for her research into determination while she moves into the Wild East to live with her friend, Starlo. Rather than confiding in her friend, Ceroba deals with her grief by bottling it and letting it fester until Clover walks into the Wild East. Ceroba cannot be tossed down from battle as she is determined to reap Clover's soul, an eerie mirror of Asgore. The Tragic King and the Avenging Kitsune, a tragic mirror of each other's pain. Asgore and Ceroba both isolate themselves from society, Asgore in a physical sense and Ceroba in an emotional sense. Both lead them down not so noble paths. Something interesting I found out is that if the player kills Ceroba in her pacifist fight, they will gain no love, which is quite odd. Every other corporeal monster in the underground provides the player with some amount of XP. I believe the reason why Ceroba provides no XP or love is because at that moment, Clover is entirely justified for killing her. What I mean by this is that the in-game karma system believes that Clover is not committing an act of violence by killing her, not that I personally believe killing her is the morally correct choice. Could it be that Clover is dealing justice for the human that was killed by Axis? Perhaps Ceroba's motivation is vile enough that Clover is doing a service to monster kind by putting a bullet between her eyes? Both explanations have some evidence, but I have a third explanation. What if Ceroba herself has gained love? This may seem like a ludicrous conclusion, but I have multiple reasons to believe this. Starting off with her boss theme, OST 20, A Mother's Love, which is referring to her love towards Kanako. It is a mother's love. But if there's one thing to know about Toby Fox, double entendres are everywhere, and I believe it's no different in Undertale Yellow. One of the flavor texts in battle also shares this description, which lends further credence that we need to pay attention to what this means. The question really is, can she even earn love? Dusttale and other fanworks have depicted monsters as being able to gain love, but that doesn't necessarily apply to this story, so how do we even know? We'll put a pin in that for now. The conventional method of gaining love is by committing acts of violence, but the only person that Ceroba could even consider to have killed is her daughter, Kanako, but that was an accident. Kanako was a boss monster, so it is possible that Ceroba gained love like a couple levels from her, but more evidence is needed. If there's not some explanation to support gaining love without gaining XP, this theory falls apart. I have an answer to this question. During the Genocide Axis fight, he reveals that he was forced to by his programming to kill a human. This raises Clover's love without them killing any other monsters or robots. Now, that may seem unrelated, but it's exactly the kind of love gain that would support this theory. Ceroba also did just attack two of her closest friends, Martlet and Starlo, directly before the battle, which although it didn't kill them, it knocked them both unconscious. One of the flavor text lines in the first phase of the battle is, Ceroba tries to ignore the condition of her friends. I don't believe Ceroba thinks she killed her friends, but the act of attacking them was a violent act, so perhaps she gained love in the same way Clover did in the Axis Genocide battle, by not actually killing anything. Ceroba also acts violently towards some of the robots in the Steamworks, destroying the arms of Axis and shattering the screen of the green screen in the Steamworks, so this violence may have given her some love. Love does stand for a level of violence after all, not to mention a lot of these robots probably reminded her of her late husband, Chujin. There is still a looming question of whether or not boss monsters can even earn love, but I may have an explanation. Monsters, especially very strong ones, are able to use a small amount of determination to power up, so to speak, the main candidate being Undyne in both the neutral and genocide routes of Undertale. We know that determination correlates with love, so it could be reasoned that in those moments, love could theoretically be gained. I believe that Ceroba has one of these moments in the pacifist fight. The mask may be where the determination is stored, due to it being made by her daughter, so that's why Ceroba doesn't melt after her fight. It's also possible that she infused the mask with the determination from the soul that Chujin was researching. This is all still speculation. There are still probably many secrets left in Undertale Yellow undiscovered, so never truly disregard a theory, even if it's kinda crazy like mine. Ceroba Ketsukane is arguably the most important character to the plot of Undertale Yellow, as her backstory connects to every other main character in some way. I know this is a little bit abnormal for my content, since this is the first time I've ever actually had a theory in one of my videos, and not just an observation, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, thanks to the Undertale Yellow team for being so awesome, and have an absolutely wonderful day. Bye everyone. Alright, the normies should be gone. Thanks for watching again. I have nothing much else to say, but I have to keep the tradition back up, you know. There was too many videos where I just chose not to do my tradition, so yeah, leave in the comments what you want me to do next. I do want to make some more Undertale Yellow videos, but it's probably not going to be my next project, because I'm going to start focusing on some of my other main projects, but I'd still be open to doing some more, so leave your ideas in the comments, or just in general, leave your feedback about the video. Hopefully you liked the theory. Other than that, bye everyone.